Building your A team. So I mentioned before, professionals, patient community, personal relationships. It is so easy to see your healthcare team literally just as your GP or your endocrinologist. You're not thinking about the registrars behind them, the junior doctors behind them, the secretary behind that person, everyone else you're working with on a professional level. It might be a therapist, it might be a physiotherapist, it might be a functional medicine doctor, like in my case. Patient community, who are you going to? Who are you choosing to connect with? Because that is really important. Your space, your energy, everything about you is really important. So there is research being done now into how you as a person, your cells, vibrate at a different frequency depending on the people that you spend the most time around. And it's really, really interesting. But you've probably heard the expression that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I don't think that's just on a mindset level that you pick up on their behaviors. I genuinely think that that's because our bodies are speaking to each other. Cells vibrate. Cells pick up on other vibrating cells. It's quantum physics. You can go and ask them. I swear I'm not making it up. It is so, so powerful. It's so powerful. So be careful, be mindful of who is in your space. Personal relationships, again, as I say, it could be family. I'm very lucky. I've got my family on screen right now. They are just incredible. They support me in every way, shape, and form. I understand and I feel for people who don't necessarily have family who can do that for them. In which case, start looking out at friends, and when you're looking at your friends, which are the friendships that really, really, really build you up? Which are the friendships that you kind of walk away from feeling uplifted, feeling like you've had the best time? That is super important. And it is amazing that we often surround ourselves with so many people, yet we don't really necessarily invest our time and our effort and our energy and our resources into those amazing relationships, the ones that make us feel incredible. That's important too. I've written underneath build your A team, show up as the leader. I speak to probably at least one MEN1 patient a day who tells me that they sit in their appointments and they nod along, or they don't really say anything, or they feel as though decisions are being made without them. And my first question to them is normally, have you shown up as an active participant in your healthcare? And the answer is normally no. Why? Because we're not taught to do that. There is this kind of strange hierarchical structure, I think, sometimes to healthcare, where we do see, the doctors, the consultants, the ists, whatever you want to call them, endocrinologists, oncologists, gastroenterologists, somehow as the authority. Yes, of course, they are the authority in their field of expertise in gastroenterology, endocrinology. They are not necessarily the expert in being the patient. That is you. And you have to show up as that expert, in my experience. And I think once you have built that, in my experience, again, once you show up as the leader, when you choose who you want to have around you, that is when things start to take off, because you are in alignment with the people who are supporting you. Because teams move together. Teams are made up of people with strengths in different areas. That's why you don't go to your doctor when you need to have a, good on wail or a cry. That's why you don't go to your best friend who doesn't understand MEN1 to talk about lipids and, I don't know, chromogranin A and all these funny things that come through on the patient result system. It's really important to surround yourself with a variety of people. Again, nurture yourself. I went into this a little bit before. What are the thoughts going on in your head? What are the beliefs those thoughts then make you feel? And then what are the emotions you feel as a result? And you can even write it down if you want to. You can go back to the blueprint. You'll receive the Google form later in an email if you haven't done it already. Super duper duper important. And it is not something that I don't think any medical professional on whatever end of the spectrum it's going to tell you that this contributes to your healthcare or to your wider health. I've had to learn this because I've come in to my MEN1 state now through another path. And I think we're getting there. I think we're seeing, you know, depending on your thoughts, depending on where you let yourself stay, that will very much mitigate your ability to thrive. But it's not really talked about. It's not really talked about. If I walk into a patient conference and talk about this, everyone's going to look at me like I've got blue hair or something. It's just not really said. It's not really said. But this is a community where you can come and have these slightly strange conversations and learn about maybe different ways of seeing things. Again, no one thing is better than another, but it's super duper important. And the reason I come back to this now is because people say to me, well, how do I show up as the leader when I don't feel like one? How do I show up as a leader when I feel like I'm literally just in an office full of people who are better than me? And you have to ask yourself, where is that coming from? Where is that feeling coming from where you don't feel good enough? Is it because there's a voice in your head that says you're not good enough and that believes you're not good enough? Because until you look at that, until you start to manage the thoughts and the beliefs that are underneath the way you act, you will keep hitting a wall. You will keep chasing your tail. The same stuff will show up and you'll wonder why. Nurture yourself. It is so, so important. Support your health. So again, I touched on this before. I really cringe when I type the word diet and I look back on it and I just think, I wish there was some other word that I could use. I've tried food, I've tried nourishment. You wouldn't even believe. And I think that is because there is so much out there now about, let's say, there's diet related information, diet related practitioners. Everyone seems to be saying something different. None of it aligns. None of it can really be specifically brought back to MEN1. So it's very difficult as an MEN1 patient to really know what to do with this. And there are a lot of people who don't necessarily see the connection. I'll put it to you just on a very kind of simple basis. If MEN1, one of the symptoms of MEN1 or one of the manifestations of an MEN1, of the MEN1 disease is problems with the pancreas tumours, just by logic, it would make sense that we take care of our pancreas. And to take care of your pancreas, you have to be careful of what you're putting inside of you, what it's doing to your blood sugar levels, what it's doing to your insulin levels. Are you spiking the whole time? And that occurred to me quite a while ago. And it took a very long time for a patient to come to me and say, actually, yeah, I think you're right. All I can say is now I have 30% of my pancreas. I've had tumours get smaller since the last time they were there. And it has coincided with massive attention I've paid to the food I put inside of me. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences when it comes to health. The body's too clever for that. It's too clever for things just to happen by accident. Lifestyle. People think exercise, job, all of that. Yeah, absolutely. You know, are you getting out? Are you moving? Movement is so important for the way you feel. That's going to come back to nurture yourself. Are you miserable in your job every single day? Are you stressed in your job every single day? And I'm not advocating, by the way, going and moving to some exotic country for the rest of your life to try and take stress out, because I promise you, you'll get there and something else stressful will happen. Stress will manifest in some way. But what is the style of life you want to live? And start making your way there. Start making your way there. Can you give over more time to the things you love, your hobbies? I definitely have. I mean, I was sad around the time of basically my exams at school. I'd let go of everything that kept me joyful. I'd let go of singing, of my music, of my sport. And a lot of my friends as well. I really shied away from social interaction. And ultimately, this stuff, it helps our mental health, obviously, but it helps our emotional health as well. And as I said before, whatever's happening outside of us is obviously being reflected inside of us. And that means on a body level as well. Environment, yes, you can go and hug a tree. I don't know how quickly that's going to have an effect, if I'm totally honest with you. Environment is more about what am I, what is the state that I'm living in out, like what is outside of me and what is the state of it. These again have hit the news very recently. Endocrine disruptors. We are being told now that quite literally everything we have inside our homes contains toxic chemicals which are interfering with our hormone system. And I don't know about you, but as an MEN1 patient, when I read that, I was like, wow. So not only am is my immune, not my immune system, my hormone system compromised by MEN1, there's then all this stuff outside of me which I had absolutely no idea about. I'm talking about, yeah, the plastics, the chemicals, what we put on our skin, what we have around us, just sometimes the air we breathe as well. And again, it's not about going and living in a vacuum. I really, really don't suggest that. I'm not about to do that anytime soon. But just be mindful of it. Just be mindful. Do your research. Environment as well is social environment. So like I said before, cells feel cells. And if you have people in your vicinity who make you feel worse inside, there's something biological going on there. Surround yourself with people who make you feel better. And relationships have to be worked on. It is not a case of clicking your finger and thinking, right, okay, this person's amazing and we're never going to have an argument or a disagreement again. Not at all. It's, do you and that person match on a soul level, on a value level? Do your values align? Do you feel better when you've been with them?